Hi there, this is Luv Johar. Thank you so much for tuning into this video and welcome to this workshop series, guys. If you have not subscribed already, the first thing that I would like you to do that is subscribe to this channel. Why? Because I will be posting a lot of different videos in this ITL4 workshop series where we will not only be talking about ITL4 foundation certification but also about things that you need to know on your job, things that you should follow within your organization, within your processes, within your functions. Okay, so we will be discussing in-depth material in this workshop series. So if you have not subscribed, please do that. Okay, and also share these videos with your friends so that they can also get the most knowledge out of them, and also try to watch these videos in the entirety, like from the starting to the big to the ending, so that you do not miss anything important. That is very important. So anybody who is beginning their career into help desk, into desktop support, into service desk, into system support, into knock support, into any type of support environment, guys, customer service, these videos are very important, guys, because here we are talking about service management. Here we are talking about what are the things that you should be aware of when you are talking about service management. What are the things that you should watch out for, okay, while discussing about service management and ITL4. Okay, so in ITL4 today we will talk about ITL4 exam. Okay, we'll start with the exam. What is there in the exam, what are the different requirements of the exam, what is the passing score, everything we will discuss today in this workshop video. Okay, so ITL for foundation exam design. Okay, so the exam basically wants you to recall different concepts that we are discussing in these videos, and make sure that you have complete understanding of all the concepts that we are discussing here. That is the first requirement. Recalling of different definitions and terms that we will be discussing in these workshop series. There will be different multiple choice questions that Excelos will be providing you, and people cert is basically responsible for conducting the exam. So this is how it happens, and they will be basically checking you on the understanding of the content, whether you are able to describe the different definitions or not. So the entire exam will be 60 minutes. Okay, there will be 40 multiple choice questions regarding this recalling and understanding of concepts, which I have just informed you about. The passing score is 65% or higher is the minimum passing score for the exam, which means getting 26 minimum questions correct out of the 40. Okay, so as I've already mentioned, the booking etc will happen to the PeopleSet website, and you can get the exam and get certified, ITL for foundation certified. Okay, I'll also try to incorporate the link to the ITL4 syllabus along with the description of this video, so that you get the most understanding of the content which is there in ITL4. Okay, so yesterday we discussed about the evolution of ITIL, how it started, about value creation, about utility and warranty, a lot of different things we discussed yesterday, right? And difference between a product and a service, and what is the service, everything we discussed yesterday. Okay, guys, so I'll be not repeating that. If you have not watched yesterday's session, I would highly request you to do that, so that because today we will be actually building upon that same knowledge and understanding that we discussed upon yesterday. Okay, so it is very important that you should understand these concepts. And I'll start today after discussing about the exam requirements. I will start today to discuss about stakeholders. Okay, who is a stakeholder as per service management? Who is a stakeholder as per ITL 4? Who is a stakeholder? Okay, anyone who is interested with the output or the delivery of the service is a stakeholder. Now, what do I mean by that? Anyone who has a vested interest with the output of the service or the delivery of the service is a stakeholder. Okay. Anyone who is interested or associated with the services that you are offering is a stakeholder. These associated stakeholders can be internal or external to your organization, guys. Try to understand this. Okay. Four different types of stakeholders are there in ITIL 4. Okay. What are the four different types of stakeholders which are there in ITIL 4? Okay. Number one, service provider. We'll be discussing them in detail as well, but try to understand this first. What are the different four types of stakeholders? Number one, service provider. Okay. Number two, service consumer or the customer. Okay. Number three, organization. Number four, any other stakeholder. Okay. These are the four types of stakeholders. So we'll be discussing them one by one. Okay. Before diving into them, I'll clarify what are the different internal stakeholders as well as what are the different external stakeholders. Okay, so internal stakeholders are, which, the stakeholders which are from the service provider organization, like you are a service provider and they are from your organization only. So these are called internal stakeholders. External stakeholders, on the other hand, are those who do not belong to the service provider organization. And these are external to your organization, external to the service provider organization. Okay. So this is about the stakeholders, guys. So I'll discuss about all the stakeholders one by one now, starting with organization, guys. That is the first, stakeholder which we have in ITL 4. Organization. Okay, what do we mean by organization now, guys? A lot of you must be thinking, how can organization be a stakeholder? Okay, in organization you have people with defined roles and responsibilities. Okay, you have RACI model. When we talk about organization, you need to think about RACI model: responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Okay, so organization means a person or a group of people that have their own responsibilities and relationships to achieve their objectives is an organization, guys. Okay, so what are the two different roles that an organization can fulfill within ITIL 4 is another thing that you should be aware about. What are the two different roles that an organization can fulfill in ITIL 4? Number one is an organization can be a service provider, and number two, an organization can be a service consumer. Okay, these are the two different roles that are fulfilled by any organization in ITL 4. So when you say that an organization is a service provider, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that is the role performed by an organization in a service relationship, to provide services to its customer is called service provider. And when you talk about service consumer, it is a role that is performed by the organization in the relationship, you know, where it consumes the services. Okay. When we talk about RACI, RACI is defined at different levels. Okay. Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. These are the different levels, where RACI is defined. Okay. So service provider, service provider is somebody who is providing the services, who is delivering the services, guys. People who are, the organization which is responsible for provisioning this such service is a service provider. And, as I've already mentioned, this service provider can be, internal to the organization, or it can be external to the organization. The service provider can be, internal IT department or external IT department. For example, if you have an internal IT department who is taking care of all your technical issues, then it's a internal service provider. If you have external department which you have outsourced to some other company, let's say, so it's an external service provider then, guys. Okay. So service provider is very important, guys, because service provider helps you to achieve the outcomes that the customer wants to achieve. Okay. A service provider facilitates the outcome creation for the customer. Okay. Service provider facilitates that, but service provider will not do it on behalf of the customer. Try to understand this. This is very important. Service provider will help the customer in order to facilitate the outcome that the customer wants to achieve. But at the same time, the service provider cannot achieve it on behalf of the customer. Customer still has to do it. Customer still has to, play its role, in order to deliver, in order to get the outcome. Okay. Now, when we talk about service consumer, who is a service consumer? A service consumer is someone who is consuming the services. A service consumer is anyone who is benefiting from the services provided by the service provider. Is a service consumer. Okay, guys. So in ITIL 4, there are three different roles being given to the service consumer, guys. Three different roles within a service consumer environment, which are defined in ITIL 4. Very important, guys. Try to understand this, because see, these are the foundation concepts that we are discussing here. If you do not understand them, then ITIL 4 will not make any sense to you. Yesterday we discussed about agile, DevOps, lean, a lot of different concepts we discussed about yesterday. But if you do not understand these concepts and you only learn all the theory in order to clear the ITIL 4 exam, it will not make any sense, guys, because you're not getting any knowledge. Okay. So make sure that you understand these concepts, and if you have any questions, you join these workshop series that I am trying to create every day. So you join these sessions, you ask questions. Okay. And I'll try to answer them. Okay. Anything that I have covered in these videos, you can ask me any questions in the comment section as well. Okay. So try to make sure that you get the most knowledge out of these videos. So now coming back to the service consumer. Who is a service consumer? Service consumer is someone who is consuming the services, guys. Anyone who is benefiting from the services provided by the service provider is a service consumer. Now, there are three different roles which are present in a service consumer environment. Number one is a customer, number two is a user, and number three is sponsor. If you do not have a pen and paper, I would request you to get a pen and paper and write down all these things. Otherwise, you will forget after watching these videos. So number one, what is the first role in the service consumer environment? Is a customer. Second role is of a user, and the third role is of a sponsor. Now we'll quickly go through these roles one by one, and I will try to keep these workshop videos short so that you can get the most knowledge out of these videos, and I do not want to drag them with hour long sessions, because that might not be interesting to you, and the attention span is not that much where people actually listen to all the stuff. So that's where I'll try to keep these videos short, but try to understand the type of information that I'm trying to provide here, so that you can get the most understanding out of it. So number one role from a service consumer point of view is the role of a customer. So what is the definition here? Customer is a person who defines the requirements for a service and takes the responsibility for the outcome of service consumption. Is a customer. Okay. So what are the attributes for a customer? Number one, a person who defines the requirements for a service, and number two, takes the ownership for the outcome of the service consumption, are the two attributes of a customer in the consumer role. Okay. The customer should clarify the required outcomes, should clearly communicate any constraints and any other risks, and then the critical success factors as well. Okay, so who defines the requirements? The typically the CIO of the organization or the CEO of the organization while you are going to get a service. Okay, so these are the different roles which are basically defining the requirements from an organization point of view. Who is responsible for the overall consumption of the service is a customer. So we'll take a quick example here as well, so that you can understand this point in a better way. So, you know, customers' main objective is to focus on defining the correct requirements for the service, because whatever requirement the customer will define, as per the requirements, only the service provider will deliver those services. So the main role here is to make sure that the service requirements are defined properly. That is the main role for a customer. Now after that, what is the role of a user when we talk about the environment, the consumer environment? The second role is of a user. Okay, now who is a user? What are the attributes of a user? A user, as the name suggests, is someone who uses the service, who is basically using the service, who is utilizing the service. Okay, who is using the service, who is using the application, who is consuming the service is a user. So users main focus is on the usability of the service, whether the service is usable or not is the main focus of the user. So the third role within a consumer environment is of a sponsor. Okay, this is the third role that you should be aware about. So the third role, what are the attributes of a sponsor? A sponsor is no one but a person who authorizes the budget for the service. Okay, that is a sponsor. A sponsor is somebody who is paying out, who is authorizing the budget for the service consumption is a sponsor. Okay, sponsor authorizes and approves the budget of the service, right? So typically the CFO of an organization is the sponsor in this case. Okay, so sponsor is responsible for the funding of the service that you are trying to opt for. Okay, so what is the main focus now from a sponsor point of view? Okay, what is the main focus from a sponsor point of view? What are the different things that a sponsor has to make sure that he understands, okay, and he takes care of? So the different things, from a sponsor's point of view is cost saving. That is the number one thing from a sponsor point of view, whether there are cost savings or not. Okay, so this is a responsibility of the sponsor to make sure that there are cost savings. Okay, so I'll now take a quick example to make this point clear, so that you do not face any issues while understanding these three different roles. So let's say that you know you have a child, okay, who is going to college, okay, and he needs a car. Okay, so you as a parent, you and your spouse, you go to the car providing the company. You go to, let's say, Honda. So you go to Honda to buy a car, okay, for your child. So in this case, who is the user? The user is your child. He needs a car. Okay, who is the customer? You are the customer, because you are deciding for your child, because he is going to the college for the first time, which car he should take. Okay, this is something that you are deciding for that person. So you are the customer in this case. You are defining the requirement, which type of car will your child need. Okay, now, who is the sponsor? Again, you are the sponsor. The child cannot sponsor the car. You are giving a car to your child so that he can go to the college or school. Okay, so you are the sponsor as well. Okay, so this is how these three roles are different. So if I take a day to day example from an operational standpoint, The users are the users within your organization who are using the service. For example, you have bought cloud services within your organization. Let's say you have got AWS services within your organization, where you have a database on the AWS you know cluster. So you have bought the service now. So who is the customer in this case? The customer in this case could be the CIO, because CIO must have defined the requirements of what kind of a service the function or the business is looking for, right? So CIO is the customer in this case. Who is the sponsor? Sponsor is the CFO, because CFO will be paying out to Amazon for getting these services. So CFO is the sponsor. Who is the user in this case? User in this case are your employees who are using the AWS database services in order to build products using AWS services. Okay, I hope that I'm clear now. So this is how you differentiate between the three roles. Okay, service provider and service consumer. Three different roles are there. After that, we discuss about service offering. There is a concept of service offering in ITL 4. Okay, ITL 4 speaks about service offering. So before I go into service offering, I would like to make sure that you understand the concept of service offering. What is service offering, guys? Service offering is nothing but how you are packaging your services, guys. How are you providing your services? How are you packaging your utility and warranty, which we discussed yesterday in the video? If you have not watched, I would highly encourage you to watch that video once again, so that you understand the concept of utility and warranty. Okay, so how do you package the utility and warranty of your services in the form of a package for your customer is a service offering. Okay, very important, guys. Try to understand this. And at any point of time, if you are not clear on any of the terms that I am discussing here, feel free to go back and rewind these videos so that you can watch them again. But try to understand this important points, guys. It's very important. What is the service offering? Okay, so service offering talks about packaging the utility and warranty. Okay, so the standard definition of a service offering, it says that the service offering is nothing but a description of one or more services which are designed to address the needs for a target consumer group. This is the standard definition. Okay, where you have different services which are designed to address the needs of a target consumer group. This is the standard definition of service offering. Now, what are the different attributes of a service offering? That is another question now. What can be there as a part of the service offering? Okay, number one is goods. You can provide goods to your customer. Okay, number two is access to the resources. You can provide access to your services to your customer. For example, in case of AWS, the Amazon Web Services that I have just taken, you have provided access to the AWS resources to your customer. Okay, so you can provide access to the resources that you have as a service provider. Number three, service actions. Now, what are service actions? Service actions are nothing but the support requirements for any service. For example, what are the different support activities that are required from a service standpoint are covered in the service actions, guys. Okay, so these are the different components of a service offering. Okay, so service offering, I will again reiterate, is nothing but what are the different services that are provided and are being offered by a service provider to a service consumer is nothing but service offering. Okay. Now, in the real environment, In the business environment, you might have heard about service package. The service package, service level package, these two terms are nothing but they are similar to service offering. Try to understand these guys. Service package, service level package, these are nothing but service offering only. Okay, try to understand this. So now we will talk about the three different components within a service offering, which we have already discussed about. So what are goods, guys? We have discussed about goods. Okay, we have discussed about goods in the service offering. What are goods, guys? Goods are nothing but tangible things which are transferred from the service provider to the customer, you know, and the customer is then responsible for the future use of those goods. Okay, so goods are basically transferred from the service provider to the service consumer. Okay, so goods are supplied to the consumer. These are goods. What are access to the services or resources? Access to resources are being granted or licensed to a customer under some specific contract or agreements, under some specific terms and conditions, guys. So that is where access to the services and resources is important. Okay. For example, if you go with the AWS environment, there is a contract between your company and the AWS services where you lay out the SLA requirements, the kind of access that you will need, things like that. A lot of things come into play, guys. So try to understand that. Okay. Number three, service actions. What are the different service actions? So service action is nothing but what are the different actions that are performed to address a customer's issues or customer's requirements. For example, there are some enhancements that you want in the database services that you have purchased from AWS. So these will come under service actions, guys. Try to understand this. All the user support, which is there, all the service requests, all the incidents, these come under the service actions. So these are the different components of a service offering that we have discussed today. Any questions on whatever topics that I have discussed today, guys? Feel free to ask questions in the comment sections. And also, if anything comes to your mind, any question, any more examples you want from me, feel free to ask in the comment section. I'll try to add on more examples in the upcoming videos so that it brings upon more value to you. So I'm doing these videos for you only, guys. If you have any questions, if you have any thing that you want to ask regarding ITL4, whatever topic we have covered so far, feel free to do that, and I will make sure that I get back to you as soon as possible, guys. So these are all the different topics that I wanted to cover today. So we'll try to cover the main two main core topics of ITL4 in the upcoming workshop sessions. I'll quickly tell you what are those two primary topics that we need to cover. Number one is the four dimensions of service management. What are the different four dimensions of service management that you should be aware about? This is the number one topic that is of core importance from ITL4 standpoint. The second important topic, apart from the four dimensions of service management, is SVS, which is the service value system. This service value system is being introduced in ITL4, you know, a very important concept, guys. Apart from these two concepts, some people will say that there are other processes as well. So now in ITL4, these processes are termed as practices, guys. Okay, so the ITL4 does not call the let's say the incident management, the change management as processes. Instead it calls them as practices. Okay, So these are termed as practices in ITL4, guys. Okay. So we will also be discussing on them, on the practices as well. There are many practices that are covered in ITL4. We will be going through all of them, guys, in the workshop series. So, as I said in the beginning, I'll try to keep this series short. So, without stretching it too much, so that it makes sense. All this content may make sense for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to add in the comment section, and I'll try to respond to them as soon as possible. So if you have not subscribed, please do that. And if you have not shared, please share the videos with your friends who are trying to study about ITL4. And I'm sure that they will get a lot of value out of these videos, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Take care.